My boy booked a family dinner at the swankiest joint in the city, but when I showed up, there wasn't a seat reserved for me. My daughter-in-law, Victoria, smiled with that sneer of hers and told me that maybe a cheaper diner down the road would be more my speed. I started to laugh, a laugh that rumbled up from the bottom of my weary soul. Everyone stared at me like I'd lost my marbles. Then I walked right over to the owner and asked for the best table in the house. His eyes lit up the second he saw me. Elias, my trusted partner of 15 years, came over immediately. My boys didn't know that this fancy establishment where they just tried to shame me was mine. That every dish they ordered, every glass of wine they sipped, every dime they spent went straight into my bank account. The name's Martha. I'm 69 years old, and I just found out the true colors of the children I sacrificed my whole life for. I was widowed at 30 with 3 little ones. Daniel, Mark, and my sweet Emily, who passed away from pneumonia because I couldn't afford decent health care. From that day on, I swore my boys would never want for a thing. I worked as a cleaning lady for 40 years. 40 years of washing, ironing, and scrubbing other folks' houses while my hands cracked and my back hunched over. 40 years of waking up at 5 a.m. to make their breakfast before I headed out to work. While other moms took their kids to the playground, I was scrubbing toilets for strangers. While they enjoyed family vacations, I pulled double shifts on weekends to pay for their school field trips. I paid for private college for both of them. Daniel studied business admin. Mark engineering. I bought them their first cars. I put down the deposit for their condos. I paid for their fancy weddings. I gave them the life I never had, the life I dreamed of but gave up for them. Daniel graduated and landed a gig at a big-shot bank. He married Victoria, a cold woman who saw me as a threat from day one, like I was gonna take something she thought was hers. Mark followed in his brother's footsteps. He was always the softer one, always needing someone else to call the shots for him. 6 months ago, I officially retired because the truth is for 15 years, I hadn't been relying just on my cleaning wages. But they don't know that. Nobody knows. I prefer they think I'm just a poor, dependent old lady. You see people's true colors a lot clearer when they think you've got nothing to offer. Victoria called me last Tuesday with that sweet, fake voice she puts on when she wants something. Martha, dear mother-in-law, we've organized a family dinner to celebrate Daniel's promotion at the bank. It'll be at the Summit. You know the place. Saturday at 8. Of course, I knew it better than she could ever imagine. I arrived right on time, dressed in my Sunday best, which to them still looked like cleaning lady clothes. I walked up to the table where they were all sitting. Daniel, Victoria, Mark, and his girlfriend Sarah. There were 5 chairs taken and none open. "Excuse me," I said. "I think we're short a chair." Daniel looked up from his wine glass and gave me that look I'd learned to recognize all too well. That mix of annoyance and embarrassment that always popped up when I was around his friends or colleagues. "Mom," he said, "we thought maybe it'd be better if you grabbed dinner somewhere else. This place is pretty exclusive. We don't want you feeling out of place." Victoria nodded with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Exactly, Martha. Maybe a budget-friendly spot would suit you better, something more appropriate for your situation." The words hit me like a slap in the face. Mark said nothing, just looked away, cowardly as always. Sarah looked uncomfortable but didn't dare cross Victoria. The other diners lowered their heads, embarrassed by the scene they were watching. Then I started to laugh, a chuckle that started soft and got louder, deeper, until the whole restaurant went quiet, staring at me. Daniel watched me with a mix of confusion and panic, like he'd suddenly realized something was terribly wrong. Victoria frowned, clearly ticked off that her plan to humiliate me wasn't going how she figured. I walked slowly toward the host stand, where Elias was waiting for me with that professional smile I knew so well. "Excuse me," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'd like the owner's booth right in the center." Elias nodded immediately. "Of course, Miss Martha, your usual table is ready." The silence that followed was deafening. I saw Daniel's eyes go wide as dinner plates, Victoria turned pale, and Mark dropped his fork on the floor. Because what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that Martha, the cleaning lady, had secrets that could tear down their world of lies and appearances. 15 years ago, while they were busy building their perfect lives with the money I gave them, I started investing my savings. Not in just anything. I invested in real estate, in businesses, in places like the Summit, the exclusive restaurant where they just told me I didn't belong. But let's save that for later. First, you need to understand who these people I call my sons really are. Daniel, my firstborn, the one I held in my arms during feverish nights when I couldn't afford a private doctor. The same one who now wears $1,000 suits and is ashamed to introduce me to his bank buddies. Victoria, his wife, comes from a middle-class family that always thought they were high society. When she married Daniel, she thought she'd won the lottery. A successful man with a good job and property. What she didn't know was that everything Daniel had was handed to him by his mother, the cleaning lady. I paid the down payment on their condo. I bought his first car. I financed their honeymoon in Europe. Mark, my baby, the sensitive one who used to cry when I got home late from work. Now he's a 35-year-old man who can't make a decision without asking Big Brother first. His girlfriend Sarah is a sweet girl but spineless. She doesn't have the guts to stand up to Victoria when she decides to bully her mother-in-law. 4 years I was the perfect future grandma for their kids, the one who'd babysit for free, cook Sunday roast and always be on call. But now that I was retired, now that according to them I wasn't bringing in cash, I'd become a burden, an embarrassment to be hidden away. Last week, Daniel stopped by my apartment. "Mom," he said, "Victoria and I have been talking. We think it'd be better if you moved to a smaller place, something more affordable. We could help you find an assisted living facility that's nice but not too pricey. A nursing home." After 40 years of sacrifice, after giving them everything I had and then some, they wanted to stick me in a home so they could get on with their lives without the baggage of a mother who was no use to them anymore. Mark agreed. "Of course it's for the best, Mom. You'll be around folks your own age. You'll have bingo. You won't be alone in that big apartment." What he didn't say was that my apartment, which they thought was too big for me, was the same one where I raised them. The same one where I spent sleepless nights when they were sick. The same one where I cried quietly so they wouldn't hear me after working 16 hours straight. That night after they left, I sat in my kitchen and made a choice. If they wanted to treat me like a stranger, as if I hadn't given my whole life for them, then it was time they met the real Martha. Not the submissive maid they'd taken for granted for decades, but the woman who had managed to build an empire in secret while they thought she was a poor, helpless old lady. Because you see, dear sons, while you were blowing the money I gave you, I was investing the rest. While you were building your lives of appearances, I was building my future. And that future included owning several businesses in the city, including the restaurant where they had just humiliated me. The look on Daniel's face when Elias personally escorted me to the main table was something I'll never forget. His eyes darted frantically between the manager and me, like he was trying to solve an impossible puzzle. Victoria had completely lost her arrogant smirk, and was now looking at me with a mix of confusion and growing terror. I sat at the best table in the house, the one usually reserved for celebrities and politicians. Elias snapped his fingers and 3 waiters appeared immediately. "The premium wine list, Ms. Martha?" he asked with the deference shown only to the true owners. "Of course, Elias, and also send over a bottle of the 2010 Chateau Margaux for the table over there, on the house." I pointed to where my sons were sitting. Their faces now showed absolute panic. Daniel got up from his chair and walked toward my table with shaky steps. "Mom," he whispered, "what's going on here? How do they know you so well? Why are they treating you like I'm the owner?" I finished his sentence with a calm smirk. "Because I am Daniel. I've been the majority partner of the Summit for 15 years. Every time you've come here to celebrate your promotions, your anniversaries, your big wins, you've been spending money in my restaurant. Every bottle of wine you drank, every gourmet meal you ate, went straight into my pocket." Daniel's face fell completely. "That's impossible," he stammered. You clean houses for a living. You don't have the money for something like this." Honey," I replied. "That's your first mistake. Assuming that because I cleaned other folks' houses I was broke. Assuming that because I sacrificed for you I was stupid." Victoria staggered over, clearly in shock. "But Martha, how is it possible that you have the money to buy a place like this? Where did you get that kind of cash?" Her voice had lost all its snobbery and now sounded small and scared. "It's very simple, dear daughter-in-law. While you were spending the money I gave your husband, I was saving every spare penny. While you were living the high life thinking it was your birthright, I was investing in real estate and businesses. In the future you thought I didn't have. But this doesn't end here. Oh no, this is just the start. Because you see, for all these years I haven't just been a cleaning lady. I've been watching. I've seen how you treat me when you need something and how you treat me when you think I'm useless. 3 months ago, I lost my cleaning contract because the company went under. I didn't tell you a thing because I wanted to see your natural reaction. I wanted to see if you'd offer help, if you'd worry about me, if you'd at least ask how I was getting by. Instead, you took advantage of what you thought was my weakness to try and dump me. Daniel, remember our chat last week? You suggested a nursing home. You told me it'd be better for me to be around folks my age. What you were really saying is that you wanted me out of your hair because I wasn't useful anymore. Mark finally found the guts to walk up to the table. Mom, he mumbled. We didn't mean to. We thought it'd be better for you. I cut him off with an icy stare. Mark, honey, for 40 years, I've known exactly what was best for me. Working until I dropped so you could have everything. Giving up my dreams so you could chase yours. But apparently, when it comes to my own life, I'm suddenly too senile to know what's good for me. Elias leaned in close to my ear. Miss Martha, there's press at the door. Someone tipped them off that you're here. Perfect, I whispered back. Let him in. It's time the whole city knew who the real Martha is. Victoria's eyes filled with tears of pure panic. Martha, please, she begged. Don't make this public. Daniel could get fired from the bank if this hits the papers. That what, Victoria? That he humiliated his own mother in public? That he tried to kick her out of a restaurant she owns? That he treated her like a beggar after she bankrolled his entire life? But don't worry, sweetheart. This is just getting started. Because it turns out the summit isn't my only investment. I've got other businesses, other properties, other surprises you can't even imagine. And now that you've shown your true colors, now that you've made it clear what you really think of me, it's time you learned what happens when you underestimate the woman who gave you life. The reporters swarmed into the restaurant like a stampede. Cameras, flashes, microphones all pointed at our table. Daniel tried to hide behind his napkin, but it was too late. Victoria covered her face with her hands, frantically whispering that this would ruin her social standing. Mark just stood there frozen like he always did when things got tough. Ms. Martha, a reporter shouted. Is it true that you own the summit and other high-end spots in the city? I stood up with the dignity I'd lost during decades of silent insults. That's right. I've been the majority partner here for 15 years. I also have investments in other businesses my children knew nothing about. But that's not the best part, another journalist chimed in. We've been told that just minutes ago, your own sons tried to throw you out, claiming you didn't fit in at such a fancy place. My smile widened. Exactly. My sons, for whom I sacrificed 40 years of my life, thought they had the right to publicly shame me in my own establishment. The cameras immediately swung to Daniel and Victoria. Sir, is it true you tried to kick your mother out? They asked Daniel. His face was beet red, a mix of shame and terror. We didn't know. It was a misunderstanding. It was no misunderstanding, I interrupted, my voice clear and firm. It was a calculated humiliation. They told me to find a cheaper joint, something more appropriate for my situation. They suggested McDonald's as a better option for my social class. All this in front of other diners to maximize my embarrassment. The reporter's outrage was thick in the air. One turned directly to Victoria. Ma'am, what do you have to say about suggesting your mother-in-law, who apparently paid for your lifestyle, should eat at McDonald's instead of joining you for dinner? Victoria stammered, making no sense. It wasn't like that. We thought she'd be more comfortable. Her words sounded pathetic even to her. I'd seen her use that emotional manipulation on me for years. But in front of the cameras, she was exposed for exactly what she was, cruel and calculating. But wait, there's more, I told the reporters. 1 week ago, these same boys who shamed me today came to my house to suggest I move into a nursing home. According to them, I should be surrounded by people my age, instead of living alone in an apartment they thought was too big for a retired maid. The cameras caught the horror on Mark's face perfectly. Mom, please, he begged. Don't say that on TV. They'll think we're monsters. You are, I shot back. You're exactly that monsters I created without realizing it, by giving you everything without teaching you the value of sacrifice. Ms. Martha, a veteran journalist asked, how long have you been planning this? The question made me smile bitterly. I didn't plan it. For years, I kept my money a secret to protect my kids from the envy and trouble money brings. I wanted them to make it on their own merits, not my wallet. But when I lost my job 3 months ago and told them nothing, when I watched how they reacted, thinking I was vulnerable, when I saw their first move was to try and dump me instead of helping, I realized I'd raised 2 strangers. 2 people who only valued me for what I could give them, not for who I was. Daniel tried to get close, probably to do some damage control, but Elias stepped in his way. The manager had worked with me long enough to know this showdown had been brewing for years, and he wasn't letting anyone stop it. Ma'am, they asked Victoria, did you know your mother-in-law had these assets? Why do you think she never mentioned it? Victoria looked at Daniel for help, but he was too busy ducking the cameras. We always thought Martha was just a cleaning lady. She never told us she had money. Exactly, I confirmed. I never told you because I wanted to see who you really were when you thought I had nothing. And now I know. Now I know that the love I thought existed was just financial dependence dressed up as affection. A young reporter raised his mic. Miss Martha, what happens now with your family? My answer was crystal clear. There is no family relationship to save. They made their choice when they decided to humiliate me in public. I'm making mine now. From this moment on, Daniel and Mark are no longer my sons, and Victoria is no longer family. The silence that followed was heavy. The cameras caught the exact second 2 grown men realized they just lost not only their mother, but the secret bankroll that had supported them for decades. The news went viral in hours. Videos of the showdown circulated on every social platform with titles like, Cleaning Lady Reveals She's a Millionaire After Sons Shame Her, and Betrayed Mom's Perfect Revenge. The comments were brutal toward Daniel and Victoria. People were furious at the cruelty shown to a mother who'd given everything. The next day, Daniel got a call from his boss. The bank couldn't afford to have employees involved in public scandals about elder abuse. His reputation was toast, and his position was untenable. He was suspended indefinitely. Victoria faced even worse. Her high society circle dropped her cold. The wives of Daniel's colleagues, who used to invite her to luncheons, now avoided her like she was radioactive. Her tennis club membership was revoked, and her name was scrubbed from the city's charity gala lists. Meanwhile, I checked into the fanciest hotel in town, the same one where I used to clean rooms years ago. Now I was in the presidential suite, looking out over the city from the 30th floor, planning my next moves like a general. Mark tried desperately to call me. His voicemails were pathetic. Mom, please forgive us. We didn't know what we were doing. We can fix this. We're family. But real family doesn't shame you in public. Real family doesn't dump you when they think you're useless. Real family doesn't suggest nursing homes to hide their own embarrassment. My attorney Harrison Vance arrived Tuesday morning with a satisfied grin. Martha, he said, I've reviewed all the docs. Daniel and Mark are listed as beneficiaries on several investments. The condo Daniel lives in, the car he drives, even his savings account has automatic deposits from you they didn't know about. Perfect, I said. Cancel all of it. Immediately. Let them support themselves like the independent adults they claim to be. Harrison nodded, clearly enjoying this. I've also looked into their finances. Without your secret help, Daniel won't last 3 months. The condo is in your name. Technically, he's just a tenant without a lease. That afternoon, Victoria showed up at the hotel begging to see me. I met her in the lobby in public so she couldn't make a scene. Martha, please, she cried, tears in her eyes. You have to understand. Daniel is going to lose his job. We'll be homeless if you take the condo. We have debt. How interesting, I said, cold as ice. Now you worry about money. When I lost my job, your first thought was how to get rid of me. When you thought I was broke, you shamed me. Now that you know I'm loaded, you come with crocodile tears. Daniel appeared behind her, looking defeated. Mom, he muttered. I know we messed up. But we're your blood. We're your sons. You can't destroy our lives like this. I laughed and it echoed through the lobby. Destroy your lives? Interesting choice of words. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just taking away the support you took for granted. You decided that Martha the maid didn't deserve a seat at your table. Perfect. Now you'll find out what life is like without Martha, the investor, paying for your luxuries from the shadows. You'll learn to live on your own dime, just like I did for 40 years while I carried you. Victoria tried one last desperate shot. Martha, if you do this, if you take everything, you'll suffer too. People will think you're a cruel mother. My smile got even colder. Honey, people already know exactly who abandoned who. The videos are everywhere. The whole world saw you try to kick me out of my own restaurant. That night from my suite, I called Elias to set up the next steps. The media wanted interviews. TV producers were pitching documentaries. Magazines wanted the story of how I built an empire while scrubbing floors. But I had bigger plans. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about rebuilding my life without the leeches that had been draining me for decades. It was about proving a 69-year-old woman could start over and be stronger than ever. The next day, phase 2 began. Daniel and Mark were about to learn that underestimating their mother was the most expensive mistake of their lives. The digital war started when Daniel and Victoria decided to spin their own story on social media. Desperate to save face, they posted a tearful video on Instagram playing the victim, claiming I hid my wealth to control them, while Victoria sobbed that a real mother would never abandon her kids over a misunderstanding. The video got thousands of views, but not the reaction they wanted. The comments were savage. People remembered them kicking me out of the restaurant, suggesting McDonald's. Their pity party just made them look worse. But I had something they didn't know about. For years, every time they visited my apartment and made snide comments about my work or my life, I recorded our conversations. Not out of malice, but because my memory isn't what it used to be, and I wanted to remember what my boys said. I never imagined those tapes would be my biggest weapon. Harrison helped me start a YouTube channel. At 69, I became an influencer out of necessity. My first video was titled, "The Truth Behind the Crocodile Tears." I posted it Thursday night, and by Friday morning it had 500,000 views. I played recordings where Daniel said I was a financial burden, where Victoria mocked my cheap clothes, where Mark said it'd be better if I moved far away because I embarrassed them. The worst one was from 3 weeks before the restaurant. Daniel had come over supposedly to visit, but really to snoop through my papers to see how much a nursing home would cost. You could hear him rummaging through drawers, saying old folks get dementia and the family needs to control their money before they waste it. The public reaction was nuclear. Justice for Martha started trending globally. Thousands shared stories of ungrateful kids. CNN called. Netflix wanted a documentary. Suddenly, Martha the maid was a global symbol of dignity. Meanwhile, Daniel and Victoria were in freefall. The bank fired Daniel officially. They couldn't be associated with him. Victoria lost her part-time gig at an art gallery. The owners were disgusted by her behavior. Her friends ghosted her. Mark tried to distance himself, posting a video claiming he was against mistreating me. But I had recordings of him laughing about the nursing home plan. He got roasted online for being a coward and a liar. Sarah dumped him. Parents at her school didn't want a teacher dating a guy like that. On Friday night, I got a desperate call from all three. They'd lost everything. Jobs, friends, reputations. They begged for a meeting. They wanted me to take down the videos, to do a joint reconciliation video to stop the bleeding. I told them to meet me Saturday at the summit. My turf. My terms. Not to make up, but to hear the conditions for our coexistence on this planet. They arrived on time looking like wrecks. Daniel had lost 20 pounds. Victoria looked haggard. Mark was a ghost. They sat across from me at the same table where a week ago they tried to humiliate me. The irony was delicious. Now they were the ones who didn't fit in. All right, I said calmly. Listen up. First, you will make a public apology video where you own every single thing you did. No excuses. You say exactly how you treated me and why you deserve this. Daniel started to protest, but I shut him down with a look. Second, you will pay back every cent I invested in you over the last 20 years. The condo, cars, weddings, tuition, vacations. My lawyer tallied it up. 8 million. Victoria's jaw dropped. Martha, that's impossible. We don't have that money. Of course you don't, I said. Because you never learned to earn it. You lived like parasites. Third, you will work to pay me back. I have businesses that need cleaning, maintenance, and kitchen staff. You start at the bottom minimum wage. Mark finally spoke up. Mom, you can't make us work as janitors. Like I did for 40 years to support you? I snapped. Exactly that. You're gonna learn what 5 a.m. feels like. Fourth, you're moving into the kind of apartments I raised you in. Small, thin walls, bad neighborhood. You're gonna live the life I had while you enjoyed the life I paid for. Victoria started sobbing. This is revenge. This is cruelty. No, honey, I said. This is justice. Revenge would be leaving you on the street. I'm giving you a chance to earn forgiveness, but you're doing it the hard way. Fifth, mandatory family therapy. Sixth, community service in nursing homes. You're gonna care for the exact kind of people you wanted to throw me in with. Daniel tried to negotiate. Mom, let's be reasonable. This is too extreme. I laughed. Extreme was suggesting McDonald's. Extreme was planning to lock me away. Extreme was shaming me in public. I stood up. Those are the terms. Take 'em or leave 'em.